Hello, everybody. Thank you for showing up tonight. Tonight's agenda, we are going to have an interview with Scott Brown, and we are going to have that interview conducted by Dr. Morrisette. Now, as we get to the end, I'll have a door prize to give out. I think there's 5 door prizes, a gift card, a shirt, a book. But you need to scan the QR code in front of you so that you're part of the random number generator. And that is pretty much it. It'll be a fun, short experience this evening. Those of you that are in my class, to post, comment, so I know you were here. And Dr. Morrisette, anything to talk about to your class?
No.
All right. Well, I'm Don Nori, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Morrisette right now, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Tonight we're doing a different format for e-expressions, and obviously we have an audience in front of us, so we've ditched the studio. As Don alluded to, I am Shelley Morrisette, and I'm the host for these podcasts. Tonight we're going to speak with Scott Brown. Mr. Brown wears many, many hats. He is executive associate to the SU president. He is president of the Shippensburg Chamber of Commerce. He's chairman of the Uprise Festival. He's director of the Pumpkin Festival. And he has many other entrepreneurial interests. So we're going to explore those tonight. So welcome to all of you, and welcome to Mr. Brown. All right, Scott, you have many titles. What do you do in a typical day? Tell me what you did today.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for having me tonight. This is great. Today was particularly a crazy day. So the way I start off my day, I have a family. I'm married. I have 2 young boys, 9 and 12, and they keep me very, very busy. I'm getting older. So if I were to ask you how old I look, does anyone want to guess? Give her a door prize right now. Anyone else? Yeah, you won't offend me. Just wow. What? Wow. Do I look that old? Wow. Anyone else? Wow. Okay, I'll tell you. So February 7th, I just turned 52. Wow, you get a door prize. I mean, wow. I'm going to give out all your door prizes. Yeah, so I turned 52. I have 2 young boys, and but they keep me very busy. And so I start off my day making sure up at 6 o'clock, making sure my oldest gets out of bed and gets picked up, and by 7:15, and then my wife goes to work, and then I also take care of my youngest, and he goes here at G Blues to the school here on campus. And so it's my job to make sure that I have him to school by 8:30, and in the meantime, I'm trying to answer emails. Sometimes I have other meetings throughout the county that I do on Zoom. So I take that in between, and then I get him to school, and then I go into the president's office where they had mentioned I'm the executive associate to the president, basically the chief of staff or the executive assistant to the president. And so I start off my day by basically we touch base to find out what's going on that day. Usually there are always, interesting fires in the morning. And so we try to deal with that to figure out what the day is going to look like. That position is slated with many, many, many meetings. As you know, you attend college here, but behind the scenes to operate a university, it takes a lot of effort and manpower and all these kinds of things. So we spend a lot of time doing that. But I sit on, because of what I do in the community, as mentioned, I am the president of the Shippensburg Chamber of Commerce, and I have been for the last 14 years. And And I also, again, work in the president's office. And so the way that came about, they sort of interviewed me at the same time. And some of the people from the university were sitting on the chamber board, and they couldn't figure out, they both wanted to hire me. So I was like, oh, I don't know what to do about that. And so what they decided was, we'll hire you for both positions. And so you'll be at the university 80% of the time, and then you'll serve as the chamber president for the rest of the time. And so the chamber and the university were great with that, and so that's what I do. Again, we go through the day at the university, whatever challenges or whatever things that we need to take care of. One of my roles, probably my biggest role, is to make sure that the university president is where he needs to be, and make sure he has all things that he needs to have, and making sure that he and our university is represented well, whether he's in a meeting in Harrisburg or a meeting here on campus. I take care of all things Martin House. Martin House is the president's house, as well as oversee a lot of building structure stuff on campus, and oversee a lot of the big events. I oversee commencement for undergrad, so I see you graduate, make sure all the stage is set, and all those sorts of things. So yeah, that's kind of what a day looks like. Now today in particular, I had let's see, what did I start? I had a doctor's appointment.
Tell us about that.
And so right on the backside of that, I'm overseeing a search for a downtown. The town is hiring a downtown coordinator, which we haven't ever had. So I've led the charge on that. We went out and raised the money, so we're hiring a downtown coordinator. So we got 23 applications for that. So we had a meeting to figure out, the top 4 that we're going to sort of interview for that. So I went right from that to a lunch with Don and a publisher friend that he had in town that we had lunch with, and then I left there, and I had to meet the Franklin County commissioners. Those commissioners are the leaders that provide oversight to the whole county in this region. So I was meeting them at the new Walmart fulfillment center to give them a tour. So we did that till about 2:30. I left there, came back here. I had to go to a food tasting with catering over in Reasoner. So I went and did that and came back, and I think I got back to the office around 3:30, met with the president for about an hour, caught up on some emails, and here I am.
How do you get on the food tasting committee? I want to do that.
So I order a lot of the food for the president, and so yeah. But it was great food. So that's what today looked like anyway. I don't know what tomorrow will look like.
That sounds pretty busy to me. I mean, I graded papers. All right. Everyone has a special music soundtrack in their head playing whenever they, riff at work, or they're thinking about their worldview, or launching a business, or whatever that might be. What soundtrack plays in your head when you're going through life?
Wow. Someone answered me. So I love music, and so I listen to a cross genre of music, and so I don't know. This is gonna sound a little strange for some people, but the Chris Stapleton little ditty he did it at the Super Bowl was spot on, and so I'm definitely a Chris Stapleton fan. I also like faith-based music as well, so I like CeCe Winans and some of those folks as well, and I think that's
good.
Those are
Okay.
good.
So,
yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
I got to tell you, I don't watch many movies.
As
I mean,
busy as you are.
I just don't.
Okay,
No.
so I know that you're interested in music. I know so everybody that I've spoken to, we've never met prior to today, and
Yeah.
everybody I've spoken to, like my next door neighbor,
Yeah.
Joe Hockersmith, who you worked with the relief with the Haiti thing. He said that you're very interested in music. Don told me you're interested in music. So how did this interest in music come about?
Yeah, so when I was young, I always, I didn't come from a music family or anything like that, but I sort of picked up this sort of passion for music. And so I could remember when I was probably like 17 years old, I always wanted to go to Nashville because I felt like that's where the heart of music was. And so some friends of mine actually, when I turned 18, they raised money. I don't know how they did it, but they raised money to send me to Nashville for a conference that was there. And so I went, and it just kind of sort of fanned the flame of the music industry and sort of that passion that I felt and saw in music. So I really started to learn to rub shoulders with the music industry folks, even the folks I met in Nashville. And so out of that, in those days, we would do, I became some friends with the record labels, who would distribute CDs and stuff, or back then it was tapes, to the stores. And so I sort of got to know our local music stores in town, and in the Shippensburg, Chambersburg, Carlisle area. And I was a little bit annoying because I would just go to those places and hang out and, check out the music. And so I became really good friends with them. And so over time, I got to know the record label folks that would come in. And then I was a part of, I got a part of an association that helps with festivals across the country. And so I became a member of that group, of these sort of people that were interested or a part of festivals. So out of that, I started working for a festival sort of regionally here. And it was, at that time, the biggest faith-based festival in the country. And so I literally started at the bottom. I was just doing, I just wanted to help them, and they didn't really know who I was. We met at this event, and so I started collecting garbage for them, and doing low-end stuff like that, and whatever they wanted me to do. I just wanted to be a part. I just wanted to be in the mix of what they were doing. So I really started at the bottom. So within about 5 years, I've sort of worked my way up through that process or through that organization, and at that point I was the assistant director of that. I became the assistant director to that festival, and so I was the assistant director, and I would be the first one on the grounds, and I did that for a little over 25 years, and it was an amazing ride. I learned everything from what it takes to put up 50 massive tents, what it takes to move 80,000 people through a festival grounds, to, security issues, some artists, dealing with artist situations and having fun on the stage, building big, massive stages. So I learned a lot from that experience.
You just really, something just went off in my brain.
Yeah.
So this whole music ecosystem, what do you think about it? I mean, it's this, you said from the festivals and records, and what can you tell us about that ecosystem? I know nothing about it, but what do you obviously know a lot about it. What do you know about it? What's good? What's bad? What's different?
Yeah, I mean, I think music is a great connector with people, right? It speaks to people. All different types of music connect with people in different ways, and so, and we see that in the music industry. We've always seen it in the music industry, and so I think music is powerful. I even think live music is even more powerful, and so I think it has the ability to transcend, many sort of different emotions and feelings and thoughts, and so it carries its sort of own power in and of itself, and we've seen that. I've been a part of some nights, and I'm sure people in the audience, students in the audience, have experienced this. I've been a part of concerts that it's sort of after that night you go, wow, that was a moment. Like, that was pretty amazing. Like, more than just people up playing guitars or whatever, but that was a moment that is not to be forgotten. Yeah.
Right. A 10X experience.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You have, in your event business, you have a concert coming up here in March that you're having right here at the Lore Center.
Indeed.
And you work with a lot of these bands. That's how you bring them all into, like, the Uprise Festival. And you get to know them. And that even played into your T-shirt company at one point.
Yeah.
So you had T-shirts for bands that you were sending around to their concerts and festivals.
Yeah. So I started doing concerts at the age of 18 when I could start signing my own contracts. So I did my first concert at 18, and I did it in Chambersburg. I think I did it with, I can't remember the name of the band, but anyway, I did it with a band out of Nashville, and it was like, I was super nervous, and I borrowed money from my family to do it. I don't know if I would encourage that, but we did this concert. We had a great turnout, and so I just felt empowered to keep going, and so it was amazing. And so year over year, I just kept doing concerts. Some years I would do a lot of concerts. When I was younger, I did more concerts. But and so we would, do these concerts at different venues. I would do them mostly at high school auditoriums, or, sometimes I did them here on the college campus. And it was really about just really being able to connect with the generation, providing opportunity, providing music opportunity for the generation that we were serving, but also for myself to build my sort of craft or trade or whatever I was doing. So after doing many, many concerts, that's when I decided, and also helping other people with their festivals around the country, that's when I decided that I needed to start a festival. So I started a music festival, and it happens here in Shippensburg. It's a faith-based festival, but it happens in September, and it's called Uprise Festival. Has anyone ever heard of it? Yeah, some people, yeah. So Uprise Festival started with me and $5,000 and friends, lots of friends that if you were my friend, you were going to be a part of Uprise. Whether it was helping to build a stage, which we had no clue what we were doing, to figuring out how we were going to get people in the door and how we were going to take care of people when they were with us.
What is the largest number of people you've had so far at the Uprise Festival?
So we've, at our highest peak, we had about 18,000 that came for the festival, which that's pretty crazy to think about, 18,000 people coming to Shippensburg, which just think about Shippensburg proper is only, I think it's 20.
No, I think it's.
Oh, no, actually the region is.
Yeah, it's 56.
Yeah, the region is 25,000, like if you include all the townships.
Yeah.
But like in town is like what, 6,000 people or something like that?
Less than 6,000.
Yeah. So it was crazy. The traffic was backed up all the way out to the interstate, and I wasn't prepared for that. And this is like it. So I'm having a thought. This is like Fire Fest, like, the Fire Fest debacle. Does anyone know about that? Yeah. This isn't quite that bad. But it was like one of those things where the traffic was back to the interstate. The police were, Scott, you got to do something about this. And so those days, were very interesting days. But, when you get into entrepreneurship and when you start business, you're going to face challenges, right? It's what you do with those challenges. And there's got to be a determination. I always say if you're passionate about it, you're willing to walk through the challenges, because passion will cause you to get somewhere beyond, keep jumping the hurdle, right? And so that's what we had to do for Uprise Festival. We really had to keep jumping because, for number one, the first year we didn't have great attendance. There were things that went wrong, and so we had a choice. We could just stop and say, okay, this isn't for us, or we could say, we're going to keep going, but we got to tweak. We got to change. We just got to keep tweaking. And we did that. I just kept tweaking. And, even some of my friends, they were like, Sai, are you sure we should continue to do this? And I said, absolutely. So we went at it the second year and figured out ways we could sort of reduce the expenses. If this many people come, what would it look like? So we just kept doing that. And so then about year 5 is when it really started to turn. And we started to see sort of a change where, more people started to come and our expenses were sort of in line and the interest was growing. And so that's what we did. And so today, 19 years later, which in 2023, the festival will be 19 years old, we're thousands of people come from we get a lot of people from the Northeast, a lot from Canada, all the way down to sort of North Carolina, over to about the Midwest, Chicago area. And then we always get a couple international folks to come and join us. And so if you talk to people in this region, in this state, and you mention Uprise, though, it's amazing for them. And so I walk around the festival going, I don't know how this started, but I don't even know how we're here, but it's come a long way, and it's because it takes determination and grit, and I got myself around people that had passion like I did and were willing to stick it out and stick with me, and that's why it's successful.
I like that it's all been successful and everything, and I don't want to ask you about any bad things that happened, but can you tell me about some of the other? I know you've had a lot of companies. You've had T-shirt companies. You've had other companies. Yeah. You don't have to talk about all the bad things. I could talk for like 2 hours about all the mistakes I've made.
Oh, I could too.
I've been doing it for 50 years. Yeah. So, but can you tell us about some other businesses that you've launched and the ups and downs on those?
Yeah, so several years ago, I started. I had one of these, thoughts, and I thought, oh, we should start a T-shirt company. So I started a T-shirt company called Life Love Music, and so I hired some guys that I found online. I hired a guy from California, a guy from Texas, and then a guy from New Zealand, and so I just asked them to be creative and send me some designs. So I thought we could do this. There was the way this started, there was a silk screening company in Shippensburg that was going out of business, and I bought their equipment. And it was like, I knew nothing about silk screening, but I heard that this company was going out, and they only wanted $2,000 for their equipment. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. I had no clue what I was getting into, but I bought it and put it in a garage, and we started messing around with it. So we started this company, Life Love Music, and we just were selling shirts sort of locally, and I would sell it at other festivals that I knew that would let me do it. And then a guitar player from one of the bands that I've worked with a lot, he saw the T-shirt company and liked it, and so then he wanted to come alongside and be a part of it. And so it was interesting because he came in the mix, and our sort of sales or what we were doing went from like here to here because we tried to be everywhere. Has anyone heard of the band Skillet? Yeah, so Skillet, they're friends of mine, and so the guitar player, Ben, at the time, Cassica, he then joined me, and we sort of felt like he could help take Life Love Music to a different level. And so the plan was Ben would wear the T-shirt on all the stages that Skillet played, and then it would generate interest, and people loved that, and so we did that. And I was running all over the country with a team of people, actually friends that I could talk into. Hey, do you want to go to California this weekend? And so they were like, yeah. But they didn't really know what they were getting into. They were like, well, you got to go to this festival. It's stinking hot. You got to stay at the booth all day. You're going to sell a couple hundred T-shirts. Ben's going to wear the shirt. They're going to wonder. So we did that, and it got to the point where we were running, crisscrossing the country, and we had people here just really packing bags for us all the time. So I would come back, on a Sunday night from, let's just say, Texas, from a big conference or a big festival, and, I had someone here unloading bags, putting in new shirts, also working, figuring out what we needed for that festival. And then I would go out the next weekend, and sometimes we'd have 2 or 3 crews out doing stuff. So, the T-shirt company really took off. But it got to the point where it was a challenge, because I was sitting in hotel rooms sort of approving designs, working with printers around the country. Oh, this design looks great. We should have it at the next festival, like trying to get them shipped to the next festival. So it got to be pretty crazy. And then where it sort of all came to a sort of a, it was time that it was time to possibly stop. I got married during that time, and my wife was not loving this idea of me being gone every weekend. And so I was telling these guys today where it sort of came to this point where it was like I knew we couldn't do anymore. We just couldn't. It was crazy because I was also running festivals, doing concerts, all this at the same time as I was doing T-shirts. It was Thanksgiving night. It was Thanksgiving Day, and we were to be. Life Love Music had a spot in Anaheim, California, and we had to leave at 2:00. Like, who does that? 2:00 on Thanksgiving Day. Me and I had one of my friends. We got on a plane and we were gone for like 4 days, and so it was brutal. Obviously, just know it was brutal.
That sounds like a nightmare type
It
event.
was. Believe me, the phone calls and the whatever. I was like, I should be back in Shippensburg. My wife was not happy.
Okay.
But at that time, and I was telling these guys, I had just and I just made the decision. Okay, we're gonna shut Life Love Music down, and I had just ordered like 20,000 shirts for sort of the next round of festivals, and so those shirts are
Still available.
Still available. They're sitting in Shippensburg in a garage. And what I do is now we put them out every Uprise festival, and every year we sell a couple $1,000s worth, and eventually we'll go through them. My team, they're like, "Do we really have to put out Life Love Music shirts again?" I'm like, "Yes."
Yes, till they're gone.
Till they're gone. Yeah.
All right. I've got a little game we're going to play here. I like to do this on the interviews and everything, and so the game is underrated or overrated.
Wow.
And that's a funny game. So I'm going to mention a few things, and you can tell me if it's underrated or overrated. And this is coming straight from you. Okay. All right. Now, you're not. This first one is Christian rock music. Underrated or overrated?
Underrated.
Really?
Yeah. I think that Christian rock music has done amazing. I think I mentioned Skillet. Yeah. Skillet is a band that is crossed many lines. They're definitely faith-based, and so I don't think they always get the props.
Yep.
And but I think they're doing amazing work. They tour with a lot of other secular mainstream bands as well, and so I think people that don't know them, once they see them live, they understand.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you were involved in this as well. The Parks Casino, the new Parks Casino, underrated or overrated?
I would say probably a bit overrated. I think so. Because of my role at the chamber, I've been working with Parks Casino for the last 2 years to get them here. I was to the point where I was their point person here in Shippensburg, and so I was a part of many of the steps, the processes. So regardless of my sort of thought or feeling towards the idea of a casino in town, I have to lay that aside and sort of pick up my chamber hat, because that's what the chamber does. And so, I think a lot of people, there are a lot of things stirred up, like, oh, it's going to be this, or it's going to be that, it's going to create this or create that, or, I think, honestly, the food is really good at the restaurant. I think more people are going to go to the restaurant than go to the casino, to be honest.
I had some friends who actually went to the restaurant, and they said it was really good.
The restaurant is really good.
They didn't go to gamble. They went to the restaurant,
right,
and they liked it.
No, I've been to the restaurant probably 4 or 5 times already, and I mean just for meetings and things like that. And the food is really good. And I said to the leaders there, I said, knowing Shippensburg, I think a lot of people are going to come to the restaurants because it's new and it's the food is really good. And so I think it's going to be good.
Here's one of my pet peeves: the I-81 warehouses. You've been here a long time.
I have.
What do you? I mean, it's great because we've got all these companies and everything like that. But wow, when I came here, there were nothing but farms.
Yeah.
So underrated,
Underrated
or
or overrated?
underrated or overrated?
I think they are overrated.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, this is a big subject. I think there are lots of, so my role in the chamber, I absolutely get to be a part of a lot of these conversations of not only what's here, but what's coming. And in the background, we're fighting, sort of what we do is advocate for this area. And so we sort of, if we see something pop up, a warehouse that wants to go in certain location, a lot of times we push back and we'll say, I don't know that's a good idea, and here's why. And so just know, like, we're constantly advocating for not having so many warehouse footprints in this community, in this region. This area, this part of 81, this sort of region of 81 is one of the last sort of stretches that is not developed. And so, of course, all of the warehouses, the one that buys the most is Matrix, or that builds the most.
Right.
Matrix builds the most, and so they have their eyes on this whole corridor has just farmland, and so they're really pushing right now to continue to build. We just, I can tell you that one warehouse just got rejected. That's just outside of Shippensburg, and they were going to take a 240 acre farm and build this massive warehouse on it, which is right across from the Walmart fulfillment center. And they offered him a lot of money. They offered the farmer a lot of money. But there were a lot of people in the background, those of us that sort of fight those battles, where we were just saying, no, you can't, it just can't happen. And so it ended up sort of being denied. I felt bad for the farmer.
I bet that farmer was really happy.
I don't know that he was. They came in and they offered him, I guess I can tell this public, they offered him $43 million for his property.
Ouch.
But there were a lot of people, the township supervisors, some of us, and some of the others, we just said, no, it can't happen. So we shut it down. I felt bad for the farmer because he wanted $43 million for his farm, and he could go whatever. Yeah. But we just said no. So he is,
okay.
Yeah. So it's
I got an easier
happen.
one for you, this one. The entrepreneurship program at SHIP, underrated or overrated?
I think it's underrated. I think that it's in a sort of continual building phase, and I think that it's I like that the life that's being breathed into it, and I've watched it over the years, and so I think that like Don and his crew are bringing some good fresh perspective to it, and so I think it's very underrated, but I think it's coming to life.
Okay. All right. Are there any? Go ahead, Don. Don is going to take questions from the audience. So if you guys have any questions at all for Mr. Brown, for Scott, please. You're going to walk around.
Yeah. Who wants to hold a mic?
Who wants to offer?
Should I tell real quick? I'll just
Go
tell
ahead.
you some other just real quick fun while he's going down, some other fun stuff that I started. This in the last year I started I have this sort of vision board, right? So if you guys are entrepreneurs and you're looking at what can I do, or you have this sort of desire to do to start business, I have this vision board and I have this list of things. Like I say, these are things I want to do before I leave this earth. It sounds a little morbid, but and so I do that, and so I would encourage you to do the same. So off of that vision board, I decided Shippensburg needed a fall festival. Now, I tend to be the special events sort of festival guy in this region. So if a festival or something like that is being started, usually someone's coming to me or it's one of my brainstorms. So I started a pumpkin festival last fall. And so it's called Shippensburg Pumpkin Festival. And I knew nothing about pumpkins, but I hired a guy that I met, and he's a professional carver. So he does ice pumpkins and all this stuff. So I purchased these big 600-pound pumpkins. Go check it out online. But so he live carved him and some of his buddies these massive pumpkins, and then I went and bought about 1,500 pumpkins from a farmer that I met in Newville. I just found him online, and I went out to his farm, and I don't think he expected me, and I didn't really expect him, and so we got to become friends, and he kind of toured me around his farm, and so I ended up buying the 1,500 pumpkins from him, and so they carved a bunch, and we made this experience at the fairgrounds, and so it went off really well, and so we're planning to do it again this year. So, but that's what Vision is, and so we made it completely free, and so that meant I had to go out and raise the sponsorship for it. So I called all my friends and sent letters to all the businesses, and we've gotten some great response. So in October, Shippensburg Pumpkin Festival, come check it out.
Those of you that are familiar with the Corn Fest in August, Pumpkin Festival is like a mini corn festival. I think it'll get to that size eventually. My wife enjoyed walking around the vendors. Was there a question down here? I thought we were going to have a couple coming in.
Just really quickly, I wanted to ask, when you were like our age in college, did you imagine that you were going to be where you're at now as an entrepreneur and with all these different hats?
I didn't, because, when you're in that sort of space, it's hard to imagine, like, how can I get from here to there? But again, I think when I was in that space, doing stuff like the vision board, continue to write down, write down what you want to be, write down where you're trying to get to, and really, have a passion for it, keep developing that passion for it, because I think a lot of times what happens is young people get discouraged because they don't see the money, like where are we going to get the money for it? But never underestimate the people you meet. And I learned that a long time ago. You'll bump into people or rub shoulders with people that you'll never know where you might, there might be a connection. And so even though you might not see it right today, continue to write those things down and build and make connections, because that's how you get there. It's amazing. And you might look back 5 years later and go, man, I'm closer than I thought. Yeah.
Anybody else while I'm down here?
What's like a trait or a quality that you weren't born with or wasn't natural to you that you like had to learn and improve on along the way that you feel like you couldn't be where you are now without it? I mean, you already mentioned determination, but besides that?
I would say communication, learning how to interact with people. So I told Don this. I was going to tell you. So I grew up in a pretty, my family, not my immediate family, but my family is pretty big. My grandmother had 12 kids. Obviously, my mother was one of them. And so my mother, I was an only child growing up. My mother was a single mother raising me, and we had very turbulent times. And so none of my grandmother's 12 kids ever went to college. None of them finished high school. So I was the first one that ever finished high school and went on to college. And so it was amazing. I always say I can't tell you about where I'm at today without telling you where I came from. I wasn't slated to be sitting in this seat doing the things that I do, but it took people helping me and caring for me and, trusting in me, and that people that I learned to trust to get me through my journey. And sometimes that is people coaching me. Hey, what does it mean to communicate properly? What does it mean to learn how to, connect with people or talk to people or interact with people? Some of those things that you just maybe discount, but they're important as a part of your journey.
All right. Anybody else?
Got one right over here.
I was already over on that side.
So you've obviously been in the workforce for like a pretty long time. What would you say like some of your regrets are, or things that you would go back and do different now that you can see like what you've done?
No regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Yeah.
I've been in the well, my background's not similar, but I grew up as a tenant farmer's son. Now, a tenant farmer's son is, like, we didn't own our land. It was on Tobacco Road. My parents never got past the 7th grade. And my sister, who's older than I, was the first to graduate from high school. I was the first to, she was the first to go to college. I was second. And so, I mean, it was really bad in the 50s. I'm much older than Scott. I'm 20 years older. So I've been in the workforce for 50 years. And no regrets. I mean, your generation is been dealt a great hand. You don't think it at all. But there are 400,000 people retiring each year more than are graduating from high school. So all of this labor inflation is due to, there's not very many of you to take the jobs. So you guys are going to be in a primo position because there's a lot of baby boomers retiring and there's not many of you. Your cohort is very small as compared to, the Zoomers are much smaller than the boomers. So there's going to be tremendous opportunities. Not only that, everything is going to be reshoring back to the United States. So the opportunities that you have for employment and what you're going to be offered are going to be fabulous. I mean, I just can't, I would trade places with any of you. I mean, you can take all my money. You can take everything I've got. You can take all my successes and everything like that. And you have to be 71. And I get to be you, and I'll take your horrible boyfriend, I'll take your student debt, I'll take your terrible car, name what it is that you have that you really dislike, and I'll take it gladly. But I get to be 20, and I will take it. Your opportunities are almost unlimited. In addition to that, you're going to college and you're going to be a college graduate. I mean, and that's going to mean, hopefully, in a couple of years, you'll be a college graduate. You don't realize it. Nobody realizes it. When I graduated from college, I thought I was the most unlucky person in the world. I thought I was downtrodden. But believe me, it'll flip real quick.
Well, and I would say, I think for me, soaking in more of my education as I was walking through that journey, right? So taking more advantage of things, like not just, I'm just doing this to get it done, but really taking opportunity. I've been on this campus working in my role for, this year will be 14 years. And sometimes I just sort of go, man, if I could go back and just really take advantage of all the opportunities, not just in college, even in high school, I just missed opportunity. And now, today, I go, man, if I would have just taken more time, taken more advantage, learned those things, what does it mean to, your writing skills, your communication skills, these kinds of things, really taking them serious. What could I have been today,
Thank you, Scott.
I think that's it.
I'm going to see, is there any closing thoughts for tonight? That was a good way to end it right there.
Yeah. I don't think so, but I thank you for having me. Hopefully you've gotten something. It's really about continue to press on in your journey. Don't let anyone steal your vision. Keep going after those sort of dreams and be an entrepreneur. Be it. Like, if you can dream it, be it. And rub shoulders with people, get to know people, connect with people, because sometimes most times you can't do it by yourself. You need someone. I was telling Don, I told a group of them a couple months ago, I was with the CEO of Volvo in a meeting, and he made a statement, and it just, like, I couldn't get it out of my head. He said, partnership is the new leadership. And so if you're not partnering with someone, if you're not connecting with someone, man, you're behind the 8 ball. Get with people. Let them help you on your journey. Surround yourself with people beyond you. And the journey is amazing. So thank you.
Let's
Thank
eat.
you, Scott. Hey, please give Scott a round of applause for joining us tonight. Thank you, sir.